Well, this was a pretty big piece on the side here, and I think I'd like to try and find other pieces to begin filling in this area. Another big piece that fills in this area is right here. That's the oil can. And it's a wraparound oil can. You can see it here. I've found an image on the internet of one of these 1936 wraparound oil cans. And the thing it wraps around is the battery, which I think is a little odd. I don't know if that's very safe, but that's the way they did it back then. So let's begin working on this. Let's work on this oil can, and then we'll work on putting something in for the battery, this cover, this cap, maybe even the wing nuts here. Let's see if we can do those as well. So to create this wraparound gas can here, I think I'm going to begin with the cylinder. So let's go to the side view, and this particular side is really hard to see since we got so much black in here and it just all blends together. So I'm going to press Control 3 to go to the other side. And we've got a little bit more differentiation in here. So I believe the gas can, or excuse me, the oil can goes here, down to here, and then over like this. I think that's it there. So I want to move the cursor there, and so far I've just been clicking here and then clicking in the 3D view, but you can also hold the Shift key down and right click and drag, and that'll move the cursor to where you want it to go, right there, let's say. And then I'll press Shift A, Mesh Cylinder. I've got 32 sides here, but I feel like that's going to be too much for having to deal with the inside. Let me try 16. Let's see if that's going to be okay. I'll type in 0.1 and 0.2 here. And I don't want a cap fill on the top currently, so I'll just choose nothing. All right, so now let's hit the R key and kind of tilt it a bit. Let's see if we can get it kind of in place here. That's actually not a bad size as it is right there. I feel like it goes to there. And if we then tumble around, let me go to the top view and press Shift Z. Oh, it looks like we're off here now, doesn't it? We didn't get it in the center. So maybe my moving the cursor that way didn't keep it in the center. Or I didn't have it in the center to begin with. But we can change that by just coming over here to the X location and typing in 0 and hitting Enter. And that'll move it into the center. Now I'm just going to press Shift S1 to move that cursor back. And that's probably what I should have done, is press Shift S1 before I tried to move the cursor. And now let's remove some of the faces in the back here. Maybe these 6 faces here. Let's remove these. And then we'll begin working on extending it back and extruding the insides here. So let's just hit delete and delete faces. And then let's select these 2 edges and let's split them apart. I'm going to go back to the top view, and I've got my transform pivoted 3D cursor. I'm going to change it back to median point, and then I'm going to press SX and move these out about like this. Right? So we have them out, and now we can extrude them back. So if we go back to local transformation and press EY, we can pull these back maybe to about right here. Right? So let's try that. It looks as though this may extend out a little bit more, so maybe what I'll do is select these 2 like this and extend them out. So SX and pull them out a bit like this, maybe. And then maybe we could take an edge here and pull these out just to get that more of an even turn there. Yeah, so that just fills the space a little bit more. And then let's think about this internal part. I think for this, I could select this edge and this edge down here. And you know what we could do is we could just isolate this. If I tab back into object mode and then press the division key on the number pad here, we'll just isolate that completely. And to go back, we can just hit that division key again and bring it back. So I'll hit that division key, and you can see over here we're in local mode here. So we can just now work on this in isolation. So I'll tab back into edit mode, and I've got these edges selected. So from this, I can just hit E, S, and turn off the Z axis by pressing Shift Z, and now just bring these in like this. Maybe something about like this, let's say. And then we could take, these edges here, or these vertices, I should say, and move these back down like this so they're kind of in line. And we could maybe flatten this area up here. So maybe we take these points here, that's 5 points, and maybe these points here like this. And let's scale these in the y-axis. We can press SY and scale these in, or we can just hit the 0 key and they'll flatten up, and then enter. And now we can pull these out like this. So that gets that kind of flat part there. And then maybe we could take this and extend these out. You know what we could also do is we could take these, say this and this, shift click this, and then control click this, shift control to select all of these. And then maybe we could do the same thing with the x-axis. We could scale these in the x-axis. Now, if we do this currently, SX will get this, and that's okay, but we can do these individually. Recall that we've got our individual origins pivot point up here. We can change to that, and then if we press SX, they will all scale in the X individually, and then we can just hit the 0 key and the enter key, and there we go. And then we need to close all this off. So what we can do is take this edge and hit the F key. And now, just like we did before, we can select just one of these edges and hit the F key, and it'll just fill all the faces all the way around. And there we go. That's nice. All right. We can go ahead and smooth it and then turn on auto smooth over here. All right. So we've got the basic shape of the oil can there. Now we need to figure out what we need to do for this cap here. And I think first of all, I'm going to move the cursor here, Shift S2, and let's just drop a cube in here. Shift A, mesh, cube. I'll take it down to maybe 0.1. Here we go. And now if I go to the side view, let's just turn this so it's in line with everything here. And then I'll just scale this up so it kind of fits in here. Let's try this. I'm going to scale it down a bit, maybe so it's inside here. And then I'll pull it up. We could also just take this down like this, just this face here. From here, I feel like we could bring this up and use this to create this kind of top lid here. So if we tab into edit mode and add an edge loop right up here, right like that, we could then take all of these and just use this to duplicate this off. Shift D, enter, scale it up a bit, press the P key and separate by selection. And there we go. So now we've got this piece. Now we can begin working on this. Let me move the origin to the geometry here. Scale it in the Z a bit. Now we can begin working on this. So for this, let's go ahead and add a subdivision surface modifier. And let's turn on the cage. And then what I'll do is once again hit the division key on the number pad to pull out of local mode, and then hit it again. And then we're just in local mode for this piece. So now I think, actually, let me turn off the cage here. So let me create two edges here, and S and Y, and scale these out. We are still in individual origins, so let's change back to median point. And recall that we are in local transformation mode as well. SY and bring these out. Let's put two edges here. SX and bring these out. Let's put a couple of edges along here. SZ and pull these out a bit, like that. We can smooth it. There we go. So now we're getting that curved shape there. We could also, let me hit the division key, and then I'll select these three pieces here, here, and here, and let's isolate these. There we go. And so now let's work on the shape of this a little more. Maybe we could take two edge loops here, and we could select these faces and hit ES and X. Scale those out as we extrude. That's for these here. And then this little piece on the top, we could get us one of those there. We could select these faces on top and extrude this up like that. We could maybe add 2 edges here. Scale those out. We could add an edge here and an edge here, and then select those and scale those in. And then maybe we take this edge and say this edge here and scale these in the Y, S and Y. Pull those in some, maybe even pull them down a bit. There we go. Let's see how that works. Yeah, so we're just kind of getting that basic shape there. And we could also maybe take these faces here and pull them up a little bit like that, just to get that curve. All right, I think we're good for this video. In the next video, let's try and finish this up. We'll add the cap here, maybe add the wing nuts, and it kind of seems like we may need to put a subdivision surface modifier on this too. So in the next video, we'll work on those.